everyone, I'm Jodi and welcome to my channel. I'm really glad that you're here today. So if you are new, welcome. I hope you enjoy this content and thank you so much to those of you that have recently subscribed. Welcome. You are always welcome here and we encourage you to participate in the comments, participate in the questions just to help really build a community for those of us that are over, 40 or 50 or 60 or 70. So today we're going to talk about bronzers. Now, I recently took a poll over on my Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I post more things like beauty news, what's happening in the industry, product launches, product recalls, things that are happening within the business of beauty. So check that out if you're interested. But one thing that I recently did was took a poll on your preferred bronzer. Do you prefer cream bronzer or powder bronzer? Today I want to walk you through some of my favorite powder bronzers. We're also going to take a look at some of my favorite cream bronzers, how to apply bronzer, and also we're going to test the new Charlotte Tilbury cream bronzer and the new Makeup by Mario bronzer. So if you want to know more about bronzer, then stick around because we're going to get right to it. So we're talking all about bronzer today. And I prefer cream bronzer, and I know many of you prefer powder, so we're going to talk about both. I do not have bronzer on yet, and can I tell you that I've been up for about 3 hours, and every time I catch a glimpse in the mirror, I'm like, oh, I need some bronzer. So it definitely becomes habit forming, I would say. I do try to steer clear of contour, especially as we age, because contouring is meant to give shape, structure to the face. And as we age, we lose that collagen, so we see more of our bone structure than we might have as we were younger. Now, granted, that bone structure is a little bit lost under some of the skin that has now sagged, so that's where you might want to use some contour if you want to contour a little bit more of a jawline or sculpt a little cheekbone, for example. But today is all about that bronze look that just says, I just have a little bit of suntan to my face. Now, if you were to tan your face, the whole face would not be tan, and that's where bronzer really plays a nice part, is thinking about where would the sun hit. If you were out in the sun, it would hit some of your higher points, your cheekbones, your nose, your forehead, and then slightly you could probably line your jaw if you wanted. Now, another key difference between bronzer and contour is contour you want to be more on the grayish matte side. Contour should not be warm in tone. That is going to give you really sort of that weird look. Now, unless your skin is really, really warm tone, then you might be able to get away with a warm contour, but by and large, keep contour on the cool, darker, grayish type brown tones. Bronzer, however, is almost the opposite. For bronzer, you really want to be thinking about warmer tones, but not too orange, more on the neutral side, and you want to minimize the sparkle and the glitter within your bronzer. So I have some of my favorites today. In terms of powder, one of my favorite is the Milani Suntan. I've talked about this one so many times with you guys that you're probably like, okay, we know you love that one. It is one of my favorites. You can see how creamy that goes on. It's just a nice color. As it wears throughout the day, it tends to get a little bit more melted into your foundation or whatever you have underneath it, and it just starts to take on this look of a cream, quite frankly. But it goes on, it's powder, it goes on like a powder. It's a nice complementary color for a wide range of skin tones. Now again, this is in number 3. It's just a nice, I have a suntan type look. Bobbi Brown carries another one of my favorites. This is in Golden Light. And what I love about this formula is it is smooth and creamy, and it doesn't feel drying on the skin. And I've laid this on top of a variety of sunscreens, moisturizers, foundations, and it has worked and performed very well. Now, most people prefer to put their bronzer on after their foundation, and that's also how I put mine on. If I am wearing, whether it's cream or powder, either, doesn't matter, it will go on after my foundation. I think of my foundation as the first step in my makeup. After skincare prep, first thing is foundation, and that is your base. Unless you're under blushing, and then you would go through blush first, but we're not going to talk about that today. Don't want to get you too confused. Now, a recent find, and I've talked about this one before, and this is by Physicians Formula in their Vacation Mode Dream Palette, is it's a nice neutral matte color. The reason I like this one is it's a little less warm than the Bobbi Brown and the Milani. It doesn't settle into fine lines. It doesn't emphasize the pores on my cheeks or where I would put it, and it's just a really nice color. And I'll put it next to this one so you can kind of see the difference between the Bobbi Brown and that Milani one. Now the thing to note about this Physician Formula palette, while it is a favorite of mine because of the variety of colors and how nicely pigmented and long lasting these colors are, they do have a slight scent. Not off-putting, but just know that it is there in case you're sensitive to smells. Another powder bronzer that I reach for often is the Hula by Benefit. Of course, this is one that a lot of people know, a lot of people wear. It's a little hard to get my finger in there, so we're gonna have to do it with a brush. This is a nice, affordable bronzer. I think the smaller one is maybe $17. It's just easy to pack. It goes on well. It's a nice neutral type color. And I'd say it's a little more neutral even than the Milani Suntan. So just a nice one. I've hit pan on this one a lot. Again, if I'm in a hurry, I like it because it's matte. It does not have much of a glitter or a shimmer to it. That's a big favorite of mine. If you're looking for a more luxury bronzer, you can't go wrong with this Dior Forever. This is their number 6 Amber Bronze. Love this color. It's a little darker than some of the other ones, but I prefer a little bit darker bronzer because then I can blend it out and do light-handed, or I can wear it darker if I needed. I also really like this one because it doubles as a nice eyeshadow a lot of the time. So I do love this palette. Now the one downside I would say about this bronzer, as much as I love it, and maybe this is just me because I'm not somebody that can keep a white shirt clean for longer than maybe 2 hours. This case is absolutely gorgeous. It's a faux leather, it's quilted, but it's cream, and this is very dark. So I've had to use this with kit gloves since I purchased it, knowing that somewhere down the line I would want to talk about it on a review. And it's been less pleasant to use it knowing how careful I have to be with this thing. If I could just put in a wish list for anybody that's watching that might work for Dior, if the color's gonna be dark like that, maybe this could be a little darker, or maybe I just need to be more careful, which is probably the right answer. So working our way up to cream bronzers. You guys, I recently talked about this and I couldn't talk about it for a year because when I first purchased this, it was not available. It was like limited edition. You couldn't find it anywhere. I was on every waiting list and it never came in. It was over a year and a half ago. And that's the Cream Bronzer by Nars. I mean, so I saw this come out recently about a month ago, and when I tell you I went a little crazy, this is Laguna number 2. I bought another Laguna number 2. I bought a Laguna number 3 because I will be switching to number 3 as we go more into summer. And then come fall and winter, I'll need to go back to number 2. And luckily I have not quite hit pan in my one from last year because I've been using it so sparingly because I'm addicted to this stuff and I don't want to be without it. I know not everybody loves cream and I'm biased when it comes to this one cream, so I have purchased a few other to test them today just to see how they're gonna wear. So I'm gonna put my Nars Laguna away for today until we meet again. And just to show you side by side, here's the Nars Laguna in cream. Here's the Nars Laguna in powder. So it's very, very similar tones. The powder actually looks a little bit warmer to me. We're gonna try the new Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer by Makeup by Mario. I have it in medium, and this is really meant to be a skin enhancer. And when I read up to say, okay, skin enhancer, that's a new term. What is it really meaning? You can't possibly mean that we need a contour, a skin enhancer, and a bronzer. Like that's too much. So it's a fancy way of saying contour, I think. But I also think this can be used as a bronzer, and we are going to find out. Because we don't need a third. We don't need a third. We don't need a layer in between our contour and our bronzer. We don't. I mean, unless you're on the cover of Vogue, then maybe, but that's not our everyday life. So I love going in with my cream bronzers with this brush. This is by Hourglass. And the reason I love this so much is because it is very stiff. Some people that wear a cream bronzer prefer a loosely packed brush. I prefer a stiff brush because I feel like I can get just a little bit of product in there, but I can blend it out really well. And this one by Hourglass, it's nice because it's nice and thick, it's easy to hold, and it's short. So I just feel like I have really good control. Let me get my hair all the way out of the way because freshly highlighted hair and bronzer are a recipe for disaster. So we're just gonna blend this in, and it says just to softly blend. And the reason I went with the mediums because I felt like I like a little bit darker bronze and or contour. I feel like I can use it. I can lighten it up for a bronze if I want. I can darken it if I want for a contour. So I tend to go towards the darker of the two options when I'm looking to pick one. Yeah, this is nice and blendable. It's a really, this number 3 is a very pretty color. It's just a natural glow to the skin. The only thing I have underneath here is my foundation. I don't have any blush on, no highlighter, and look, my hand just automatically goes to contour. Okay, well I said I wasn't gonna do that. So let's just do a little bit of for bronzer, I like to do a figure 8. I like to just sort of start up through the hairline, cross the front of the forehead, down a little bit around the cheekbones, and then down underneath the jawline, and then back up on the other side. I love the way that looks, and it goes on sheer enough that you could build it if you wanted to add just a little bit more color for more of a contour. If you wanted to stick with just a little bit more of a bronzer, then I think this is a really pretty color. Well, I might regret just buying a lifetime supply of these Nars cream bronzers because that's really a natural pretty bronze. We're gonna see if it oxidizes or if the color seems to change at all. If you look at them side by side, this is the Nars Laguna that I love, and this is the Mario number 3 in medium. It comes in 6 different shades. Now it claims to be sort of an in-between, it sounds like, between a bronzer maybe and a foundation. It says, my soft sculpt enhancer is a breakthrough innovation that I custom formulated to give skin an instant warm glow while naturally blurring imperfections and evening out your skin tone. This retails for $30. So if you have cool tones, this may look a little bit too warm for you and just maybe more of a sunburn than a suntan. So test that for sure before you purchase it if you're thinking about it. So now we're going to take a look at the Beautiful Skin Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer by Charlotte Tilbury. This is a $55 cream blush, and while I am a big fan of Charlotte Tilbury, I feel like this packaging is not her normal type packaging, and maybe I don't need to get hung up on that, but when you open it up, you've got a nice large full compact mirror in there, and then there is your bronzer. I got a very dark one as I'm looking at it, and that looks to be about 2 shades darker than my Nars Laguna that I really do love. So we'll see how this wears. I think, you know, initially right off the bat, you guys, I think, you know, here's Bobbi Brown powder. Here's the Charlotte Tilbury one. I mean, the size difference is just, it's notable. So if you're short on space, or if you're not sure you're going to love a bronzer that much to pay $55 for one that's so big, I just don't know why Charlotte Tilbury continues to do that with this and her powder bronzer. They're just huge, and they're big. Sort of like when you go to some of those restaurants and you're like, you order a plate of food and it's like huge, and you're like, but why? If you would have just charged me half and given me the amount that I would have actually eaten, that would have felt like a better value to me. But I digress. Okay, this is her Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer, and I do like my bronzer to be a little darker. Once I explained to the lady at Nordstrom what I was doing with it and why I like it, she suggested this one. So this could be a really dark bronze, and this could also be a very big mistake. So we're just gonna, let's just stiffle it in and see how blendable it is. Or if I need to go wash my face before I do anything else today. Okay, that is really thick, even though I just kind of stiffled it in. Let's get a damp beauty sponge and see. Okay, so clearly the color is way too dark, and I have just made like a huge muddy mess. So even trying to blend it, you guys, is not easy. You've seen me wear some pretty dark colors before. That's just gonna be way too dark for me. But I'm not finding it easy to blend it out, which you can normally do. But for some reason, I don't know if you can see that, but see, it's picking up on all my dark spots on my forehead. And I've never had that happen before, so I'm not sure what it's grabbing. I have the same foundation on that I have on this side. It did not grab, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. If I had the right color, it may not be as bad, but I'm not finding it easy to blend out at all. And this brush is usually a pretty good, yeah. This is kind of a muddy mess. Now, clearly it's the wrong color. I don't know if the right color would look any better or not, to be honest. I think if maybe you wanted a really sharp contour and you were just going to use this for like really truly shadowing and not bronzing, I think you might be okay. But even with a darker skin tone than this, I'm not finding it easy to blend at all. And so you'd really have to work it in and work it in and work it in. Now, once you do that, you might have a pretty color, but I just think it's gonna take a while and you're gonna have to layer it. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, you guys, but it's definitely grabbing onto any discolorations in my skin or age spots, if you will. So I mean, I've never had that on my forehead before with any type of foundation, bronzer, contour, you name it. Now, in full transparency, it is tough to impress me with a cream bronzer because I'm in love with this Nars one. So I was hoping this was going to have better results. It is said that your skin will appear smoother in 1 hour to 42% of the people that they surveyed. It boosts hydration by 136% in an hour. It is said to be humidity proof, sweat proof, and I don't know. I don't know. So if I was just trying to convert you to a cream bronzer, I probably just, you know, utterly failed. I think Nars is still my choice because it's that perfect blend of deepness but not warmth. But it's not cool either. So we're gonna go over this and see if we can. Yeah, so I will probably need to go wash my face, start my makeup over, and go back to the Nars. I think the makeup by Mario is really pretty. It's very blendable. It's nice and creamy. It probably wears nicely if you were to set it with just a little bit of powder. This Charlotte Tilbury one, I have to just say, is $55 is just a lot for a really big tub. Now, if it blended better and easier to blend, then I would maybe feel better about recommending it. And I think as biased as I am towards the Nars cream bronzer, I still think that's your better deal. So if you're a cream bronzer person and you have not given this one a try, I would highly recommend giving that Nars cream bronzer a try. I'm gonna go wash off this half of my face and try to get my makeup back to looking somewhat symmetrical, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.